I was born in Siemens. I'm Mennonite. Well, that's what happened. What happened was we were looking for land. I mean, that's the most important story in my life. You really want that for this? Like, this is, okay, so I just turned 23 years old. Very beautiful spot we had on Saturna Island. We had to leave it because we were very good friends with the caretakers of the land, and the owner of the place was really horrible to these people, so we decided to leave. And at that point, I just said, we've got to buy land. We just set out, we put our stuff in storage, and we just set out looking for land. We went to a real estate office in Quesnel where we said we were looking for a place, you know, for about $5,000. We didn't have $5,000, but we thought we might be able to raise that. We were looking for a small piece with a bit of water on it and some kind of shelter while we built and some kind of clearing for around $5,000. And this real estate office was not your usual real estate office. It was very, very Wild West. It was very, very old, and there were no machines. There was nobody in it except an old man at the end of the room with a counter and one of those lights like that. And he looked very strange. At any rate, we asked him about that. He said, there's nothing like that here, but there's a place called Dunster over the mountains where there's a 25-acre piece with 5 acres clear, an old barn and a pond. And then he showed us on the map where it was, and I said, no way, I want to grow food. That's even further north than where we are, and there's no way I'm going there. I want to grow food. I want to grow fruit. I want to do that. So that was May. That was towards the end of May, and so we went down to the Kootenays and the Okanagan and all that area. In the Kootenays is where I really wanted to be. There was endless friction between the Doukhobors, the rednecks, and the hippies, and nobody wanted us there. To the Doukhobors and the Doukhobors were okay. To the rednecks, we were hippies, and to the hippies, we were Canadian because they were almost all Americans, and we were made to feel very unwelcome. But that's where we wanted to be, so we spent months there looking for land. There was nothing. Everything was crazy expensive, and everybody was, like I say, very unfriendly. So finally, at the end of August, around the 20th, something like that, we decided it was, what do we do? We got to have shelter for winter. We got to be somewhere. So we decided to head up to Dunster. And the whole way up here, all the way from Kamloops, I just shook my head. It's like, this is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for land to grow food. I mentioned that I'm Mennonite a minute ago, whatever. Like, that is deeply in my blood, like hundreds and hundreds of years of work in the land, and I can't get away from it. Even as a 23-year-old, I felt a deep passion for working in the land. When we got to Tijon, they were building Highway 16. From the meandering country road it was connecting one farm to another into this big major highway to Prince George. That was 1973. It was just dust and Euclids and construction, so we would meander on the old highway and through whatever. Finally got to the Dunster turn-off. We turned down the hill, and the minute we turned off of that construction zone and down into the valley, I said to Dave, this is it. This is home. This is where we're going to be. And we started asking around for that 25-acre piece. It doesn't exist. Everybody just laughed when we told them, oh, we're looking for this 25-acre piece. It's $5,000. The price was right, believe it or not. You could get 25 acres for $5,000. But it didn't exist. And having lived here for 50 years, I know that it never did exist. I know that there's no such property like that in this entire valley. But within a week, we came to this place, and it was like the jewel in the crown. That's what the regional district called this piece of land when I fought them. But that's a much later story. we saw this beautiful piece of property. They wanted 25,000 for it. There's no way we had that kind of money. We were looking for something for 5,000. So we driving down the road, there was a Volkswagen van, a couple of hippies in it. We said, hey! And before the afternoon was over, we decided to be land partners. And we decided to buy this piece of property together because we figured we could get the down payment and they were going to make the monthly payments. So anyway, yeah, we bought this property. The lady was very pleased to sell it to us. When we came there, she was so delighted not to have to deal with the farmers that she immediately knocked a couple grand off the price. We didn't try to bargain. We had no idea what to do to buy land. But anyway, she liked us. She sold it to us, and we returned here, went back to the coast, got our stuff, came back here, and we had the land. In the mid-'80s, we went back to Quesnel to chaperone our kids in a judo tournament, and I looked for that real estate office and couldn't find it, so I went into the hardware store that was next to it and asked the manager about it, and he said, nah, it didn't exist. It never, ever was a real estate office there. In other words, I feel quite strongly like we were meant to be here, that God intervened, there was an intervention, and 50 years ago, here we are, 4th generation on the way of McDonald's on this land. Can I put some wood on the fire? You guys are cold. Are you warm enough?
I'm good.
Wow.
Okay. I guess you had the house and the kids.
Well, it wasn't quite like that. We had the kid. I was incubating the child while trying to also establish a new garden here, build a house. So it wasn't quite ready when my first son was born, so we stayed in a shack up at Harry Bear's place. And it was a shack, let me tell you. And a few months later we moved in here, dragging a stove a kilometer on a car hood. We had one last dance in 1973. I'll never forget that. It was such a hoot. Like I say, we were a bunch of hillbillies and hippies. There wasn't like a lot of money people around. It just was a totally different dynamic than it is now. It was a wonderful dynamic, and we had so much fun. I just always remember that dance. I remember that dance so well. I remember there's a song, a country western song, I guess, We're Parting, and she stood in the middle of the room where people are dancing around her, singing at the top of her lungs, we're farting, we're farting. At least that's what I heard, we're farting. It was very funny. It was very funny seeing the hillbilly men asking the pretty hippie girls to dance. Seriously, it was a great, and you know, very shortly after that dance, within a month of that dance, that building collapsed. And a good deal of the logs in my home are from that building.